Good evening to all of you. So today we are here again with our weekly class of Organon. So last time we have done till aphorism 263 and we will start with aphorism 264. So in the coming aphorisms from 264 to 271, Dr. Hariman gives general directions regarding the preparation of certain medicines or a general information or general or common this instructions regarding the preparation of the medicines. They are given in more better form in Materia Medica Pura. They are given in more detailed view in Materia Medica Pura. With each kind of medicine, Dr. Hahnemann has given there how to prepare the medicine first and then prove it. So here we will talk about it in a general terms. So we'll start with it. So we'll start with aphorism 264. The true physician must be provided with genuine medicines of unimpaired strength so that he may be able to rely upon their therapeutic powers. He must be able himself to judge of their genuineness. So next part, when a physician has understood how regarding the has understood the basic principles of the homeopathy, how he has to analyze the case, how he has to take the case, how he has to understand the effect of the or the powers of the medicines, he must also be provided or he must have the medicines which are genuine in nature, prepared by the genuine methods, prepared by the genuine uh, ways which are instructed in the Materia Medica Pura and the Organon, so that he can give relief to the patient. And he should be also should know how to judge their genuineness, how to judge the genuineness of the medications, whether the medications are right or wrong. That can be done by the provings. When he proves medicines on himself, he can know about the genuineness of the medicines, or he can see through the provings in general. So it should be a matter of conscience with him to be thoroughly convinced in every case that the patient always takes the right medicine. So mm, he should not stop after prescribing the medicine or after reaching the remedy. This should also be a part of his routine, that he should be confident, that he should be very much that rely upon this thing, that the patient takes the right medicine. Okay, it should be a matter of conscience. It is better if the physician gives it from his own hands, prepares by his own hands the medicine and give it to the patient. 266. Substances belonging to the animal and vegetable kingdoms possess their medicinal qualities most perfectly in their raw state. So any kind of medicine which is coming from either from the vegetable kingdom or the animal kingdoms, the most medicinal, the strongest medicinal property which they always contain in their raw state when they are raw. So there is a long footnote given to this aphorism. All crude animal and vegetable substances have a greater or less amount of medicinal power. So any kind of animal or any kind of vegetable substances which are there in their crude form, they have less or greater amount of medicinal power. All of them have medicinal power. In some, the medicinal power or the capability, the strength is low. In some, it is high, and are capable of altering man's health, each in its own peculiar way. And they have this power to alter the man's health in their own individual manner. Those plants and animals used by the most enlightened nations as food have this advantage over all others, that they contain a larger amount of nutritious constituents. Last time I have told you that Dr. Hahnemann has given an article in the lesser writings. In his lesser writing, there is an article which tells about the medicinal power in certain food items. There, the coffee is also one of them. Like last time we were talking about the coffee. So I told you that there is an article, an essay which is written in by the Dr. Hahnemann, and it is included in his lesser writings. So if anyone you got a chance to read it, there he writes that almost all the things which we eat, they have somewhere they have medicinal powers. There are very certain few things which do not have good medicinal powers in them, or they do not have medicinal power at all. But almost all the things which we eat, they have the medicinal powers, mostly because we are not eating them in their raw state. If you eat a raw onion, you can feel that power, medicinal power, strong medicinal power of Allium cepa. When you are cutting the onion, and it burns the eyes, there is lacrimation. If the onion is too strong, then even coryza, very burning coryza from the nose, can start from the smell of the onion. But if you heat it and then you eat, for example, if you have put some oil and heat it and fried it, and then you are eating the same onion, then does not cause any kind of uh, problem, or does not show any kind of symptoms through its medicinal power. So so here also he is saying the same thing, that the enlightened nations, the nations which have come to know this thing, that these food items, they have the medicinal power also, but they are also a source of nutrition. They have come to this state that they diminish this medicinal effect of these kind of substances, eating things, by heating them, or through their culinary processes, different kind of culinary processes, they diminish the medicinal part of it. So that is why these things, they don't affect us as medicines in our day to day lives. So here also he is saying the same thing, that they contain a larger amount of nutritious constituents, and they differ from the others in this, that their medicinal powers in their raw state are either not very great in themselves, or are diminished by the culinary processes that are that they are subjected to in cooking for domestic use, by the expression of pernicious juice, like the cassava root of South America, by fermentation of the rye flour in the dough for making bread, sauerkraut prepared without vinegar, and pickled gherkins, by smoking, and by the heat of action in boiling, stewing, toasting, roasting, baking, whereby the medicinal parts of many of these substances are in part destroyed and dissipated. So these things, they do not produce any kind of medicinal symptom or any kind of medicinal effect on us, because through our culinary processes, through our cooking, with whatever way we cook, for example, if we uh, bring out some juice, or we ferment them, or we smoke them, or there is some action of the heat, we fry them, whatever we are doing, roasting, toasting, baking, whatever we do, we basically destroy the medicinal part of that substance by doing that. And that is why we cannot feel that thing. By the addition of salt and vinegar, pickling, sauces, and salads, animal and vegetable substances certainly lose much of their injurious medicinal qualities. So, by doing these things, all these medicinal qualities which these things had, they are lost. But other disadvantages result from these additions. But he is saying that there are certain other disadvantages which we can come from these kind of additions, even in our day to day eating habits or cooking habits. But even those plants that possess most medicinal power lose that in part or completely by such processes. By perfect desiccation, all the roots of various kinds of iris, of the horseradish, of the different species of arum, and of the peonies lose almost all their medicinal virtue. So he is saying about certain methods like desiccation of the roots. If the roots are desiccated, they are cut. So these certain kind of vegetable substances like iris, horseradish, or some kind of arum, they basically lose their medicinal virtue. So he is actually kind of bewailing the practitioner who is going to make the medicine, that you should not do all these things before the preparation of medicine. When you are dealing with vegetable substances, or some vegetable kingdom or animal kingdom, when you are making medicine from these two particular kingdoms, so you have to be very, very, very careful that whatever process you are using, that should not basically reduce the medicinal properties of that particular plant or whatever you are using. By merely standing a long time, the expressed juice of the most deadly plants become quite powerless. So if there are some very strong poisonous plants which are used for making medicine, if the juice is left for some time unattended, it can become completely powerless. Even at a moderate atmospheric temperature, is rapidly takes it rapidly takes on the venous fermentation and thereby loses power, much of its medicinal power, and immediately there after the acetous and putrid fermentation, whereby it is deprived of all its peculiar medicinal properties. So if it is left even at the moderate atmospheric temperature, the fermentation will start very soon and it will become putrid, and then it will lose the medicinal properties. The ficula that is then deposited, if well washed, is quite innocuous like ordinary starch. So when it is fermented, there is a starch like substance which is deposited in the bottom part. So he's saying, Dr. Hanuman is saying that once that is deposited, then it is quite useless. By the transudation that takes place when a number of green plants are laid one above the another. So when we have placed a number of, for example, you have placed spinach one upon the another, uh, so there is a process of transudation, leaking or oozing of the fluid because of the weight and the pressure. So that also he says that it should not be done. The greatest part of their medicinal properties is lost. So here he is giving a general instruction that what kind or what um, the caution which you have to take before you start making a medicine, what kind of plant or what kind of animal part you are using to prepare the medicine. You should be very cautious that it should not lose any of its medicinal properties before you start to make a medicine out of it. So aphorism 267. We gain possession of the powers of indigenous plants and of such as may be had in a fresh state in the most complete and certain manner by mixing their freshly expressed juice immediately with equal parts of spirits of wine. So any medicine which is made from the indigenous plants means which are grown in the area around you. If you are trying to make some medicine from an indigenous plant which is freshly there, so it is better to take it in the fresh state, and a fresh juice is made from that. Immediately it should be mixed with equal parts of spirit of wine. Spirit of wine is basically concentrated ethanol. uh, so he's saying that if you have 100 ml of juice is extracted from the plant, it should be mixed with 100 ml of ethanol, concentrated ethanol, spirit of wine, of a strength sufficient to burn in a lamp. That is around 50-60 of ABV, we call it by volume. Okay, so that should be mixed with the concentrated ethanol. After this has stood a day and night in close stoppered bottle and deposited the fibrinous and albuminous matters. Once that ethanol is mixed with the juice of that plant, it should be left for 1 day and 1 night in a stoppered bottle, very airtight bottle, and there will be deposit of fibrinous and albuminous matters through that day, through those 24 hours. The fibrinous or albuminous matter, it will deposit down, settle down. The clear superincumbent fluid is then to be decanted off for the medicinal use. So there will be a clear fluid on the top. All the fibrinous and albuminous matter will be settled down. So that clear fluid can be used for the medicinal use. Now, uh, this is the part which we call as the tincture. This clear part which we have got, it is the tincture which is used further for the preparation of the potencies. So this is how we get a mother tincture. Okay, so this 267 aphorism, it explains how we have to get our mother tincture from the vegetables or the from the plants which are there. All fermentation of vegetable juice will be at once checked by the spirits of wine mixed with it. So once we have this mixed the ethanol, the spirits of wine, with the juice, there will be no fermentation which will happen, and you will get a pure medicinal power in your hands, and rendered impossible for the future. An entire medicinal power of the vegetable juice is thus retained perfect and uninjured forever. And you have retained perfect uninjured medicinal power of that vegetable juice forever by keeping the preparation in well corked bottles and excluded from the sunlight. It should not be kept in sunlight, and it should be kept in a well corked bottle, airtight bottle. So, first footnote to aphorism 267. Buchholz assures his readers and his reviewer in the Leipziger, certain 1860-90, number 82, does not contradict him. So there was a person, Buchholz, at that time in Germany, who assures his readers that for this excellent mode of preparing medicine, this mode of preparing a mother tincture or preparing a medicine, Buchholz says that we have to thank the campaign in Russia whence it was in 1812 imported from Germany. So in his note, this Buchholz person, he says that this process of making the medicine, we should thank that campaign in Russia, which the Germany have done some campaign or some fight in Russia, and it got imported into Germany from Russia. According to the noble practice of many Germans to be unjust towards their own countrymen, he conceals the fact that this discovery and those directions, which he quotes in my very words from the first edition of Organon of Rational Medicine, Aphorism 230, and note, proceed from me, and that I first published them to the world 2 years before the Russian campaign. The Organon appeared in 1810. So, in this aphorism, basically, Dr. Hahnemann is uh, talking about a person, Buchholz, who was there at his time, who is saying that this particular technique of making a mother tincture, it has come from Russia to Germany, and we should thank that campaign or that war, whatever has happened to that. And Dr. Hahnemann is saying that it is a practice of Germans that they are unjust towards their countrymen, because it was Dr. Hahnemann who has basically first given this technique. He first published that technique in his Organon, the first edition of Organon 213, 1810. The campaign happened in 1812. So in 1810, he has already published this thing. Some folks would rather assign the origin of a discovery to the deserts of Asia than to a German to whom the honor belongs. So he's basically criticizing that person that, there are some people, rather than giving the appreciation to the person of his own country, they will give that appreciation to someone away from their country. Alcohol has certainly been sometimes before this used for mixing with vegetable juices, for example, to preserve them, sometime before making extracts of them, but never with the view of administering them in this form. So he's saying that alcohol was used, earlier for mixing it with the vegetable juices to preserve them, but not to extract like this. This is extraction with the help of ethanol. Earlier, some medicine was made and it was preserved with the alcohol. But this kind of extraction, Dr. Hahnemann says, was never made before. And I have published it in the Organon of Medicine, the first edition, in the Aphorism 213, 1810. Okay. So, second footnote to the same aphorism. Although equal parts of alcohol and freshly expressed juice are usually the most suitable proportion for affecting the deposition of fibrinous and albuminous matters, yet for plants that contain much thick mucus, for example, Symphytum officinale and Viola tricolor, etc., or an excess of albumin, for example, Ethusa synapium, Solanum nigrum, etc., a double proportion of alcohol is generally required for this object. So, this whole process, which he explains in aphorism 267, it is to extract a pure juice from the vegetable parts from the some plant. So he's saying that usually equal part of alcohol or equal part of ethanol is more than enough. But if there are some plants which he gives example of, which contain much mucus or much albumin, then there we can double the amount of alcohol. For example, you have 100 ml of juice, you can usual method is to put 100 ml of ethanol. In such plants where this albuminous matter or fibrinous matter is more, you can add 200 ml of the double the amount, so that it can bring out the excess of albumin and fibrin from it. Plants that are very deficient in juice, as oleander, buxus, taxus, ledum, sabina, etc., must first be pounded up alone into a moist, fine mass and then stirred up with a double quantity of alcohol. So he's saying that where the juices are very less, in some certain examples which he has given, the plants, they must be pounded, with some heavy mass, with some heavy stone, or with some heavy iron piece. They should be pounded. Okay, they should be beaten up, and then that moist mass should be that double quantity of alcohol should be added to that moist mass, in order that the juice may combine with it, and being thus extracted by the alcohol, may be pressed out. These later may also, when dried, be brought with milk sugar to the millionfold trituration, and then be further diluted and potentized. If they are too dry, if they are too dried up, he gives it in the next coming aphorism, that if the plants are too dried up, then they can be uh, beaten like this, made a powder, and then used with the milk of sugar, and then the trituration should be done up to the millionfold potentization. Okay, 10 raised to power 6. We will talk about that when we will come to that. The other exotic plants, barks, seeds, and roots that cannot be obtained in the fresh state, the sensible practitioner will never take in the pulverized form on trust, but will first convince himself of their genuineness in their crude entire state before making any medicinal employment of them. So now the first aphorism, this 267, was about the indigenous plants, the plants which are local to us. Then there are plants exotic, means which are not local, which we do not get domestically. They have to be brought from some other country or some other state, or somewhere from where you cannot get a fresh plant to you. So all those plants, he says that you should not take it in pulverized form, means powdered form. You should not take it. You should first examine the genuineness, whether it is the right plant, it is the right species, it is the right genre, and then get it pulverized. Again, there is a footnote to aphorism 268. In order to preserve them in the form of powder, a precaution is requisite that has hitherto been usually neglected by the druggist. So now first he has told you how to get a mother tincture of a liquid where you have a fresh juice, okay, and how you have to get a mother tincture out of it. Now second is when you have a plant which has dried up, and now it should be powdered to get the medicinal properties. So he's saying that there is a very peculiar thing where precaution which the druggists or anyone who is preparing the medicine, he should take care of this thing. He should keep it in mind in regard to these plants or seeds or barks or roots which are to be formed in the powdered part, because the juice cannot be extracted from them. So, and hence powders, even of well-dried animal and vegetable substances, could not be preserved uninjured even in well-corked bottles. So if the plant or the vegetable part, it is looking very, very dried up, then you cannot just even you cannot preserve them in a well-corked bottle like this, because it will get bad. It will go bad, because he will tell why. The entire crude vegetable substances, though perfectly dry, yet contain as an indispensable condition of the cohesion of their texture a certain quantity of moisture. Even if they look dry, even if they feel dry, he says that in their texture, in their very deep molecules or tissues, there is still a certain quantity of moisture which is still left, which does not indeed prevent the unpulverized drug from remaining in as dry a state as is requisite to preserve it from corruption. So it will turn out bad if you do not get rid of this moisture, because this moisture, if it is there, you cannot store certain this dried up plants or animals for a long time. but which is quite too much for the finely pulverized state. The animal or vegetable substance, which in its entire state was perfectly dry, furnishes, therefore, when finely pulverized, a somewhat moist powder which, without rapidly becoming spoilt and moldy, can yet not be preserved in corked bottles if not previously freed from this superfluous moisture. Even when you have pulverized it, you have powdered it, that substance, you cannot just store it in the bottle yet until and unless you have gotten it free from that little useless moisture which is there. So this is best affected by spreading out the powder in a flat tin saucer with a raised edge. So we just spread out the powder in a flat tin saucer with raised edges, which floats in a vessel full of boiling water. So there is a boiling water, a big vessel with a boiling water, and then you place that plate, that tin saucer with raised edges in it, and then you put the powder in it. Okay, so we call it a water bath. And by means of stirring it about, drying it to such a degree that all the small atoms of it no longer stick together in lumps, but like dry, fine sand are easily separated from each other and are readily converted into dust. So we will dry it to a state that it becomes a very small powder where nothing is sticking, and it converts into a very fine dust. In this dry state, the fine powders may be kept. So main thing is that you cannot apply direct heat to it. Then that the medicinal properties will be lost. So in those cases, you have to use a water bath and then heat those things to make it very fine powdered like a dust. And this dry state, the fine powders may be kept forever injured in a well corked bottle and sealed bottles in all their original complete medicinal power without ever being injured by mites or mold. And in this way, you can store them forever without them getting bad, without them getting injured. And they are best preserved when the bottles are kept protected from the daylight. So, same way, you have to keep it away from the daylight. If not shut up in airtight vessels and not preserved from the excess of the light of the sun and day, all animal and vegetable substances in time gradually lose their medicinal power more and more, even in the entire state, but still more in the form of powder. When you go through these aphorisms, you can feel the preciseness up to which the Dr. Hahnemann have taken his experiments. These kind of things you cannot write by doing only 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 experiments in your life. He has gone through so, and you will feel that thing in the coming aphorisms. The diligency, the commitment which he had towards homeopathy, you know, eh, smallest of the details he has not left out what to do and what not to do. And this is just a general instructions. More particular are given with the medicines. If you this read the pulsatilla, how the pulsatilla is to be formed, or the sulfur is to be formed, or lycopodium plant when he takes it, how the medicine. If you just go in the Materia Medica Pura and you read it, you will be amazed the fine details which he has done. And in some of them, he has also given that I tried these methods, but they could not bring out the medicinal power fully. Now, what is the full medicinal power? Even we don't know, because we have not done these experiments. Maybe one day I feel that we should all do these things and come to know and experience homeopathy in its whole form. Because even making of the medicine is a part of homeopathy, being a homeopath. Proving it on oneself or proving it on someone who gives the consent to prove it, that is another form of experience. Right now, our experience is with our patients, although it is very good, but until and unless we do these things, I think we cannot achieve that complete experience of homeopathy, which a homeopathic physician should achieve. But when you see the details, the minuteness, and that uh, accuracy, preciseness by which he writes that, this is the way that you should do with these kind of substances. All animal and vegetable substances in time gradually lose their medicinal powers. If they are exposed to the sunlight, if they are not well cooked, if they are not put stored in the airtight containers, then they will lose their medicinal properties, even in the entire state, but still more in the form of powder. Okay? So the homeopathic system of medicine develops for its use to a hitherto unheard of degree the spirit-like medicinal powers of the crude substances by means of a process peculiar to it. So in homeopathic system of medicine, once we have these mother tinctures, now we have to prepare the medicines. So these development of medicines, or this development of the making of a medicine, it is also like the spirit like power, the spirit like vital force, the spirit like disease, dynamicity of the disease, and now the dynamicity of the medicinal substances. So from these crude substances, we make in the homeopathic system these medicines by a particular process which is peculiar to it and which has hitherto never been tried. And he said that this thing has never been tried, whereby only they all become penetratingly efficacious and remedial, even those that in crude state give no evidence of slightest medicinal power on the human body. Even those elements, even those um, plants or some kind of animal which do not have any medicinal power in their crude state, when they are prepared by a certain method, by the method of titration, by the method of dynamization, when they are prepared, you he's saying that you will be surprised to see the medicinal power of even those things. Now, thus 2 drops of the fresh vegetable juice mingled with equal parts of alcohol are diluted with the 98 drops of alcohol and potentized by the means of 2 succussions. Now, the mother tincture which we have prepared, 2 parts of that, 2 drops from them are basically mixed with the 98 drops of alcohol, and it is given 2 succussions. And now it is potentized to the power of 1, whereby the first development of power is formed, and this process is repeated through 29 more files, each of which is filled quarters. Now, the first time you have to put 2 drops and 98 drops of alcohol, the first potentized and give it 2 succussions, and you have 1 potency. Now here on, you have to take 1 drop of this potency, 99 drops of alcohol, and your file should be only 3/4 filled. It should not be full filled. It should be 3/4 filled, so that you have uh, 1/4 part for the succussion. Okay, it should be succussed. Okay? And each succeeding file is to be provided with 1 drop from the preceding file, which has already been shaken twice and is in its turn twice shaken, and in the same manner at last the 30th development of power potentized decillionth dilution X, which is the most generally used. So in here he is telling us how to prepare the 30th potency, 10 raised to power 30. That is the dilution which is, he's saying, generally used. Dr. Hahnemann at his time, he has used generally 30th potency. Then Dr. Boeing Hassan, he started practicing with more higher dilutions. He prepared more higher dilutions than that. So, we have already done this in our basic understanding of the preparation of medicine, how to prepare the uh, potencies. So this is a way that you take 2 drops from your mother tincture, put it in a file, put 98 drops. It should be 3/4 filled, 1/4 empty. Give it 2 succussions. You have the first potency. Then from the first potency, you have to take 1 drop, add 99 drops in the next file, new file. It should be 1/4 empty, 3/4 filled. Give it 2 succussions. That is the second potency. Then from there, make the third potency in the same way until you have got the 30th potency. You can keep going on like this. And always just shake twice. Footnote to Aphorism 270. In order to maintain a fixed and measured standard for developing the power of liquid medicines, multiplied experience and careful observations have led me to adopt two succussions for each file. Now, someone might question why two succussions? Because there has to be a standard method which should be adopted so that we can know which potency we are giving. Okay, which potency we are giving. For example, I have given two succussions to a ninth potency. I know I have a 10th potency. Okay, after taking one drop from the ninth, adding 99 drops of the alcohol and giving it two succussions, now I know that I have the 10th potency. So there has to be a standard method which everyone around the world, each homeopath can use, and he should be careful with this thing because Dr. Hahnemann will tell about this thing because I have seen many homeopaths who give in liquid, who have delusions at their home or in their clinic, sorry, who have delusions in their clinic and they give it to the patient. And before giving it to the patient, they will do like this. This is a very wrong practice. Do not give succussions if they are not needed. If you keep giving succussions, so let's complete it first. Okay, I'll get to my talk later on. Led me to adopt two succussions for each file in preference to the greater number formerly employed. So he has already done this thing that he has employed a greater number of succussions by which the medicines were too highly potentized. So the medicines were too highly potentized, and we cannot get that whether it is potentized to 30th potency or to 40th or to 50th because we didn't have a standard measure. So there are, however, homeopathists who carry about with them on their visits to patients the homeopathic medicines in the fluid state and who yet assert that they do not become more highly potentized in the course of time, but they thereby show their want of ability to observe correctly. So he's saying that many of the homeopaths I know of his time who carry liquid bottles in the bags and they are carrying them to the patient's house, they are traveling and that liquid is moving in their bags and they are not able to understand that it is getting potentized by that thing. I dissolved a grain of soda in half an ounce of water mixed with alcohol in a phial, which was thereby filled two-thirds full, and shook this solution continuously for half an hour. So he said that I take soda, a grain of soda, calcarea, okay, with an half an ounce of water and alcohol, and he shaked it for 1 hour. For half an hour, and this fluid was in potency and energy equal to 30th development of power. So he has not, even changed it like to the next potency to just one thing he took from the crude state and he kept succussing it for half an hour and the 30th development of power was there in that particular potency. So for that thing, so that, if I have made it to 30th potency and I'm carrying this thing and, before reaching it might have got to 35th potency or 40th potency or 50th potency, and I'm doing this from 10 years and I don't even know. In my mind, I am giving 30th potency, but it might have become 200 or 300th potency because of the succussion. So he had to give us standard practice to form the potencies. So this is a standard practice how to form a potency. Now coming to my what I was talking about. So many of the doctors, they have this tendency to give it two or three succussions or do it like this, as if something is, shake well before use is written. It is not written, but they have this in mind. Like after giving some other medications, that they have this that you have to shake before giving. This is a very wrong practice. It should not be done. This aphorism, this footnote should be given importance if you are giving potencies. Sorry, if you are this giving medicine in the dilution forms. You should always remember that you should not, keep succussing or keep shaking the bottle again and again. It is increasing the potency. So at one time you will be giving 200, but it might be acting like some 500 or 600 potency, and you will not be understand. You will not be able to understand why this kind of reaction has come from this particular medicine. Okay, so we have to keep a standard for the preparation of medicine, and this is the standard method. Aphorism 271: all other substances adapted for medicinal use except sulfur, which has of late years been only employed in the form of a highly diluted tincture as pure or oxidized and sulfurated metals and other minerals, petroleum, phosphorus, as also parts and juices of plants that can only be obtained in the dry state, animal substances, neutral salts, etc. All these are first to be potentized by trituration. Okay, all the other substances which are formed from petroleum, phosphorus, or they are obtained in dry state except sulfur, not sulfur. Sulfur's tincture is a different way how it should be. All these things, they should be triturated for 3 hours. They should be in a mortar and pestle. They should be triturated for 3 hours. That is the way you have to potentize it up to the million-fold pulverulent attenuation. Okay, this is a method which is given about this in the Materia Medica, where you use the milk of sugar, and of this 1 grain is to be dissolved and brought to the 30th development of power through 27 attenuating files in the same manner as the vegetable juice. So in pulsatile and arsenic, Dr. Hahnemann has given in a more detailed way in Materia Medica Pura how these things have to be made. So usually we take milk of sugar, we add these substances, one of the substance we add to it, and we make a trituration for 3 hours. We use the mortar and pestle. There is also more detailed view that how you have to do it in a clockwise way or in an anti-clockwise way. And then take 1 grain, 1 grain is also a measurement. There is a spoon which you get to get a 1 grain, and then put it in the alcohol, and from there you start making the potencies. Okay, you have to do it 27 times, this attenuation, because in the powdered form you already have formed up to 3 potencies. 3x you have already made, and then you have to make it in the centesimal scale, which will be used in the same manner. So footnote to aphorism 271, as is still more circumstantially described in the prefaces to arsenic. So in pulsatile and arsenic Materia Medica Pura, in the Materia Medica Pura, it has been described in a more perfect way. Here he has given a general guideline regarding the plants, animals, and the minerals, or something which are dry, like some carbons, or which you have to take, how to make the medicines from them. Okay, so main thing is from whole this, although nowadays we have already gotten these medicines which are prepared, but yes, once in a lifetime, we as a homeopath should have an experience of making the medicine, using our own prepared medicine, how it affects. Okay, so because that will make your experience as a homeopath more broader. But we have to take precautions, we have to take care, and we have to follow the method as it is given. And the another important point which we can take from this thing is that all the doctors who are using dilutions, who have kept dilutions, and you prepare your medicine from those dilutions, do not keep shaking it. It is increasing its potency, and we don't know what potency it might have reached. Okay, if you have been doing like this, it is better that you start replacing those medicines with new ones, and don't shake them or don't give them succussions. Dr. Hahnemann has already done all these things, and certain at certain points he has given the example that I have done this, don't do this. Okay, so we should follow that thing, I think, so that we can have more better results, and we can see homeopathy in its more broader meaning. Okay? So with that, I will take your leave. Just go through these aphorisms. Although we might think that right now I might not be preparing the medicine, so I don't need to read them or understand them. It is not about reading or understanding this thing, but I always say that look at the emotion behind the organon. Look at the feel that emotion of Dr. Hahnemann behind the organon, that that love for truth. Whenever he explains in whole detail. Recently, I had some doctor from Brazil with me in the clinic. So she had few questions to ask. So I was telling her the same thing. Like I have told many things many times earlier also, that she had many questions. So I was just opening the aphorism and telling that, you see, the answer for your question is written here. And the next question, the answer is written here. So this organon, it has all the answers to our all the questions which we are going to get in our lifetime as a homeopath. I'm not talking about now, but the whole life. We are going to get some certain questions at certain turns of our life regarding homeopathy. And this organon has all the answers. So just if we are connected with the spirit which is behind this organon, not with the words. Words are important, but the spirit in which they are written. If we can just understand that, if we can just feel that once in our lifetime, the homeopathy will start coming more easily to us. So, with that in mind, if you can just go through the aphorisms once again, just feel the spirit and the way it is written, the way Dr. Hahnemann writes everything. He cautions again and again. He writes so beautifully the details of the methods which are to be done. If we can just feel that, then we can feel the spirit of Dr. Hahnemann through his words. So, with that, I will take your leave. Have a very good night.